Right. Let's bring everybody in. How's everybody doing today? All right, so as everybody's coming into this webinar, hello, my name is Brandon Horton. I'm going to be your webinar host today. I haven't seen a lot of you guys in a long time, but here I am again. It's great to see you. And what we're going to do is do a little bit of spring. We're going to give you a little bit of direction. So we're going to have Q&A, and then we're going to have the topic of straight to the subject questions that you want to ask our esteemed guests that we're going to have today. So we're going to have Q&A that I'm going to be picking from throughout the entire webinar, and then we're going to have some more that we're going to have strictly for the Q&A at the end. So there are two different chats. So we have a lot of people coming in, so make sure you're being active in the chat and being active in the Q&A. So hey, how's it? Hey, there we go. We got Q&A going already. So we got about 50 participants in. How's everybody feeling today? Get to me in the chat. Talk to me. Hello from Knoxville. Anybody from the who's international right now? Do we have any international guests? Do we have any Vancouver? I'll take it. I love Vancouver. Love it out there. Florida. How's the weather in Florida? Hope it's sunny and bright. Right here in the southeast, it's cold. Very, very cold. And I don't like it. Very, very cold. All right, so if everybody knows, we're gonna do this is the webinar on doing the headshots the right way. We're trying to get to the industry standard of doing headshots the right way, and we have someone who's very, very well seasoned and well groomed, and he can kind of lead you in the right direction when it comes to doing a professional headshot. So that's where we're gonna go. Keep showing me love in the chat. Stay active in the chat. Let me see, make sure everybody's going. There we go. Wow. Cameroon. Wow. Cameroon. That's awesome. All right. So remember, we have a lot of going on in the chat. So I'm going to pull from the chat any of the questions that you guys have out of the chat in the Q&A. That's going to be for the end. We're going to spend about 15 minutes at the end of this for any Q&A that you have for the guy that I'm about to introduce to you in a second. So in about 2 minutes, we're going to get this thing going. We're going to get it started. Happy day from Ventura. Oh man, I love it. I gotta go out west. I gotta go out west now. That's what I'm trying to do. Forget the southeast right now. I need to go out west right now. Sunny Cali. That's what I'm looking for. So let me know if you guys are ready to go. Everybody ready to get into this webinar and get it started? Yes, no, maybe. Give me some energy. Everybody feeling good? Yes, there we go. All right. Okay, so let me start off by saying hello, everyone. I love you. I missed you. Here I am again. My name is Brandon Horton. I'm going to be your webinar host for today. But today, I'm going to give you a very special guest. His name, he's from City Headshots. He owns City Headshots in New York City. And this man is an expert in rebranding and remarketing the actor, you and me. Yes, that's what he does. His headshot studio is widely acclaimed as one of the best in New York City by his peers and by professionals as well. Along with his training that he's had, he has a lot of seminars that he's done. He's written books. He has podcasts going. This man is a jack of all trades when it comes to getting people on the right track as far as an actor, but his expertise is headshots. Putting our face out there and making it look the best. Our first impression is the best impression, right? So with that being said, he is a mentor to many. He's a mentor to a lot. I think he just said 25,000 email people that he had, like actors that he has in his email list. So I'm trying to get on that. I know you are too. So hopefully we can make a connection today. So without further ado, I'm going to bring to you, his name is Martin Bentsen. Martin, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
That's great. Hey, you have a great smile, man. I know you got a great headshot. Hey, so listen, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna jump right into it, man. Let's start with the basic generic question. What is a good headshot to you? What does it look like to you?
All right. Well, first, I just want to very quickly let people know I am kind of getting over a cough, so I may cough a little bit in this, so I apologize. But
That's okay.
to answer your question, so a headshot it's interesting because it really depends on what your audience is, right? So when you're thinking about how am I going to use my headshot, a lot of actors just think I need a professional headshot. But what's most interesting is that actually depends on where you are in your career, right? So if you're at the very beginning of your career and you're just trying to get some initial credits by performing, let's say, for free in student films or small independent productions, you actually don't necessarily need a super expensive, fancy headshot just yet. That becomes increasingly important as you move forward in your career and you begin the search for an agent and you start looking for higher level, more paid acting work. So, to answer your question now of what is a headshot, obviously it depends on where you are in your career. At the base level, a headshot is something that shows who you are and is an honest representation of you. And ideally, it should also give people the impression that you actually know what you're doing on camera, right? You don't want a headshot with a fake smile or like a deer in the headlights type of look or like some weird expression that looks like you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Because if you have a picture like that, no matter who it is, even if it's a student filmmaker who's casting for their first film, they're just going to look at it and be like, this person looks crazy. I don't know if I want to bring them in for my audition, right?
Right.
So you want something that makes you look like, at least somewhat confident. And whether it's a high end pro headshot or just a snapshot that was taken on your phone by somebody and is really basic, it should be an honest representation of you, of who you are as well, meaning you don't want it like overly retouched and fake looking, or like you don't want to be like turned so far to the side that you can't tell what you look like. So it needs to show who you are. It should generally be about this close, not like so far away, otherwise it's a body shot. And just, again, looking like you're comfortable on camera and not some weird crazy person who's like going to be difficult to work with.
Right. So when you talk about like these are industry standards that we're talking about. These are industry standards that'll get you in front of the casting director or whoever you're putting your headshot out to. So when you talk about that type of shot, what type of poses are the most flattering, and what would be the poses that are the best for capturing the perfect headshot?
So let's start to move up the chain, right? So we have your super base level headshot, which similarly, even if it's not done professionally, you don't want to be turned too far to the side. As you move up the levels in terms of getting in front of actual casting directors, right? Because when you're at the beginning of your career, you're submitting to a student filmmaker. They don't have a casting director. So they don't have someone who's super experienced casting for their film. They don't have the money for it. But once you're actually talking about real casting directors who are experienced, they have a certain level of professionalism that they're looking for in a headshot. And we can talk if you want in a little bit about like lighting or framing and some of those technical things. But to answer your question specifically of what a casting director is looking for in terms of posing, in general, keep in mind that because a headshot is fairly close, you're not looking to do any crazy posing stuff with it. We want to keep it very simple. So, in general, like as long as you're not turning much more than 45 to like 60 degrees to the side, that's fine. You could be straightforward. You should ideally not be kneeling down. Like there's headshots that you'll see where like the camera's like shooting down and a person is like looking up at the camera. That's
Right.
generally not as good. Casting directors don't like that. You want to be like standing in most of your shots. And then on top of that, generally speaking, we want to keep it like good posture and just very very simple. Slight leaning in towards the camera can actually work because what it can do is it can actually help strengthen the jawline. Okay, so like you know anybody, because of the lighting and the way that photography works, right? Unless the camera is from a high angle, which you don't really want in a headshot, you want it more straight on. almost anybody in this type of lighting that's hitting your face is going to highlight underneath your neck, and it can slightly make it look like you have like more of a chin than maybe you do. So the trick for that is, again, either leaning slightly towards the camera because that can strengthen the jawline, or you can sort of push your face towards the camera from the side. It would kind of look like this. I call it the turtle. Just kind of push your face forward a little bit. You don't want to
Right.
do it a lot where you're like stretching your neck or it makes you look hunched or whatever, because we do want good posture in a picture. But just a teeny bit of that with your posing or your angle can
Right.
help just kind of strengthen the jawline and make the shot look better.
All right, when you talk about the posing, you actually touched on the lighting of everything. Lighting is very important. So, for like in your studio, for instance, what type of lighting have you seen that produces the one not perfect headshot, but a pretty successful headshot?
So there's a few different lighting setups that you can use, and I'm going to answer this question from two perspectives. One is if you're if you don't have it within your budget yet to hire a high-end professional photographer, and let's say you just need something temporary to submit to those student films, and you're doing a picture yourself, right?
Right.
So the best way to get good lighting in general is going to be if the light is not coming from above and is more so coming from in front of you.
Mhm.
So if you use window light, let's say, like you're in your house, I'm gonna actually disconnect my laptop from my from the power, and I'm gonna walk to the window here, right? So look at the way my face looks when it's lit up by the window, right? You see that it lights up my eyes and everything. Whereas if I, let's say, am standing underneath a regular light, you're gonna see all this like darkness under my face. You see,
Yeah.
and that's not good.
Right.
So we want to have light that's coming from in front, and now like to go a little bit deeper on that. When you're doing photos with a professional photographer and you're in a studio, there's a couple of simple lighting setups that can work really well.
Yes.
The first thing is my process is always to find whether people have a better side, right? So some people know their side, other people are like, I don't know, right? But you know, I would look at you, and you could look at yourself in the mirror too, or take some photos of yourself just to find your side. Because if you know that you like one side better than the other, in general, it's not always the case, but I'd say about 70 to 80% of the time, you want the light coming towards your face. So your nose should be pointing to where the bulk of the light is, not the other way. Like if your good side is this side and you have the light over here, it's not going to look as flattering as if the light is over here, kind of
Yeah.
creating a shape for your face. So that's one tip about lighting, is that you should almost always have your nose pointing towards the light. The other thing is, in general, most people like a slight slimming effect with light. And the best way to do that is by what's called a clamshell lighting setup, where there's one light above and
Yeah.
another light below. The light below won't be as bright. You usually want more light coming from above. But what happens is when you have one light above and one light below, it creates a little bit of a shadow along the cheeks and slims the face. So the idea would be, if let's say this side is your best side, you have the lights over here and you have one light above and one light slightly below, and that kind of it tends to be what works best, I'd say, for at least 70 to 80% of people.
That's good. So find your good side, go towards the light. Those are two simple things,
Those,
right?
those, those are very, very important. And if
It
you're
looks like a
taking your
very
picture yourself,
right.
use a window for your light, not like the ceiling lights.
Yeah. Don't stand in your kitchen and just have the overlight. We want light coming from in front, right? So, all right. So we have the lighting, right? So we found our good side. We're facing the light. Smile or no smile. When do you
All right.
smile? When do you not smile? Is
So
there a
this is
significant?
another good question. Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm a
Really,
smiler, you know what I mean? And I've been told, you're like, Brandon, get me serious. And I'm like, nah, I don't like serious. I like smiling.
so all right. The thing is many people have probably heard the term commercial versus legit, right?
Yeah.
So there's a commercial headshot and then there's a legit headshot. This is sort of your most basic level of differentiating smile and serious shots. Commercial shots are typically going to be a smiling shot with a bright background like white or colorful, blurred out. Like if you're doing your shot outside, you might have greenery or something behind you, and you're going to be smiling in it, and you're going to submit that shot for commercials. So if you're trying to act in commercials and get cast for, like, toothpaste commercial or something, right? You're submitting a smile shot, and you should have white teeth if you're doing commercials for toothpaste. But in terms of the other side of things, legit, right? The reason that the term is called legit is not just because it's like legitimate. It's more just because they say, like, all right, this is legit style acting where you're performing in like a real movie or TV or whatever. And most of the time, for legit headshots, you want a more serious, or at least like a closed mouth expression most frequently. Some people are just natural open mouth people, and if they try to close their lips, there's like tension, and it's kind of weird. So if you're watching this and that's you, that's totally fine. You don't have to do closed mouth. You could have your face fairly relaxed and just have a little bit of teeth showing. But for a legit style, more serious headshot, when you're submitting for, let's say, type specific roles, like if you're thinking, I want to play like detectives or something, then yeah, you're probably not going to have a big smile in that shot. You're probably going to have more of a serious expression and maybe a darker background and a little bit more shadow going on in the lighting, not so bright and friendly and smiling. So to answer your question, actors should ideally have both,
Yeah.
unless they truly hate one or the other, right? So if I'm very much of the mindset that you should pursue acting work that you enjoy doing, because you're going to do better work at it. So if you hate playing like friendly, happy, smiling type of characters and you have no interest in doing commercials, you generally prefer to do much more serious or intense or darker characters, then don't even waste one of your looks doing like smiling stuff. You could, if at bare minimum, you could do like a very slight closed mouth smile or something, go for like an approachable look, and then focus most of it on like sneaky or confident or, interested, like curious, those types of expressions. But
So
hopefully that answers the question. You
yeah,
definitely
it
need
does.
both, in my opinion, for
Yeah,
most
so
people.
having both is really good. That shows your range too, so you can kind of submit to both. You can submit to the legit, what you said, and more of the commercial as well. So hey, just want to let you guys know, if you have any questions, put it in the Q&A. I'm looking at the Q&A. If you have any questions, I'm going to be sending them out to them. So make sure you're participating in the chat and in the Q&A. So we have the lighting right, we have the smile or the no smile. You know what I mean? And then we're gonna go, what is like formatting for pictures? What's the size that it needs to be? Give us a rundown of all that.
All right. So it's in terms of, first off, like in the past, it used to be black and white. Now it's always color.
Mhm.
You can't use a black and white headshot anymore, just because you can't really see. Like casting directors want to know what color your eyes are and your hair and everything, and that information is just not possible with a black and white. So color, in general, there was a period of time in early early 2000s to mid like 2000s where horizontal headshots were becoming very popular. Now it's back to primarily vertical for both television and film, and also like theater acting. So
Okay.
vertical style is definitely, in my opinion, the most versatile, the best way to go for formatting. And then technical stuff, like whoever's shooting your photo, in general, like these days, the cameras are all going to be good enough quality. You know, the thing is you need it good enough, like high enough resolution to be able to print. If you're going to get prints done at 8 inches by 10 inches, so 8 by 10, and 300 DPI, or 300 pixels per inch is what that means. So, usually like at least like a 12 megapixel camera, which is what's on most iPhones these days. And pretty much like any professional camera is going to shoot at that resolution. That's going to be perfect for it. Anything higher than that is even better. But it's it's so rare these days that casting directors need actual physical prints that I usually only recommend that actors get like 25 copies made, if that, you know. You should have them in case you're asked, where you staple your resume to the back at the four corners, and you know you cut your resume to be 8 by 10 because that's the actual size of the paper. That's good. Have some of them with you when you go anytime to in-person auditions. But for everything else, it's going to be digital. So you want like, you know, you want to obviously save your final images in high resolution so
Mhm.
that you have the high res version. But then it's also good to have a smaller resolution size, you know, and honestly, like for computers, most of the time the resolution is 72 DPI, which is again 72 dots per inch or pixels per inch, and then you know 5 by 7. It's a much smaller, like your full thing is going to be huge, and sometimes it's difficult to email that because you know the email could be too big. So instead you have a smaller version that you can send, and it's also faster for uploading. In the past there used to be a lot more restrictions on file sizes, but these days as hard drive space is getting cheaper and cheaper and bandwidth is getting faster and all of that, the restrictions are starting to go away, so there's less issues that people run into with the formatting. And any reputable photographer should be able to format the image for you. If you're trying to like upload it and you know you're having problems, you should be able to email your photographer, say, listen, you know, you did this for me, I can't upload it here, can you format it to this? And they shouldn't have a problem doing that for you.
Got it. So you have everything that you need when it comes to any information about, okay, what type of file, what type of size, what the color needs to look like, facing your light, finding your good side and things of that nature. So I hope you guys are taking down a lot of information from Martin. So the last thing, actually it's not the last thing, but it's the last question, and then we're gonna go into a lot of questions after this. But what do you wear to to shoot your headshot? Is there a good way to dress? Is there a bad way to dress?
So this is an interesting question because there's a lot of answers to this, and a lot of times I find it almost better to focus on what not to wear.
No. Yeah.
um, so there's first, I was just thinking that there's two articles that would probably dive deeper on this than we'll have time for now, but people could also reference them before a headshot if they're having something come up. If you're okay with it, I'll just mention what they are so people can look at it. Yeah. So one is if you search, so my company is called City Headshots. That's CITY headshots with an S. So if you just type City Headshots, what to wear, the what to wear article will come up that dives super deep on that. And then also City Headshots, and then you just type in actor headshots. And there's like, or you could type like ultimate guide to actor headshots. This is an article that kind of answers even some other questions that we don't have time for, like retouching and makeup and all of that stuff. But specifically now to talk about what to wear, I'm actually just going to reference my article because I have it open here so that I don't forget anything to mention. Um, so the first thing is in terms of clothing, you want to think about your types if you know what they are. If you're very, very new at acting and you're not clear on what kinds of characters you play best, you can do something a little bit more generic, like, you know, a simple dark gray, let's say, t-shirt. I do recommend avoiding flat black or flat white in photos. It worked well. Well, flat black worked well in black and white headshots, but in color, dark gray works a little bit better. So, you know, you can go kind of generic, but otherwise, if you know character types, like if you're like, oh, I know one of my types is detective and another one is business professional, then think about what you're going to wear from the perspective of what those types might wear. If you're not sure what they would wear, you can go into Google image search and type the word detective, and then pictures will show up, and then you can kind of get an idea of, excuse me, what those people are wearing. So that's the first step, is to just get clear on what are the character types that you would like to focus on for your headshots.
Yeah.
And then you're going to choose the clothing that will support that. And then you're just going to essentially follow some general guidelines that I'll outline now. One of which is to avoid strong patterns. So you can wear subtle patterns, right? Like very subtle things. And think of the stronger the pattern, meaning the more contrast that there is between two colors that are next to each other. So if you have like a black and white stripe, that is way worse than having like a light gray and darker gray stripe, because that's like much more subtle. So those strong contrasting patterns are very bad. Subtle patterns are okay. Solid colors are generally best. Layering is nice. Like if you have a jacket over another thing, like a shirt, that can work really well. Obviously, you should not have any logos or text all over. Like, you don't want to be advertising for someone else in your picture. And just in general, like it's distracting. If it's a subtle thing, some photographers can retouch it out. Like for instance, if you have like a little Lacoste, like, alligator, or, some sort of thing like that, those little types of things can be cut out of your shot pretty easily with Photoshop. Um, you should also avoid generally wearing like accessories or jewelry. So, if you're gonna do jewelry, you could do very, very tiny little like stud earrings, but like definitely avoiding hoops, avoiding necklaces. You know, if you have glasses, you should keep them on if that's how you meet most people. That's like an acceptable accessory. Obviously, like sunglasses, no. But
Right.
if you wear glasses, if you're planning to show up for your audition with contacts on all the time, then you should probably not, unless you want a specific look like that. You can definitely do shots without. But if you always wear glasses everywhere you go, don't bother taking any pictures without them unless you have a plan to get contacts in the near future.
Gotcha.
Um, Now, in terms of some clothing stuff, like for so anything, it's generally better to cover your arms, right? So like sleeveless stuff or really like short things, arms, like the color of skin being seen on the side of your headshot, even if it's at the bottom, it just like draws the eye. Like you see how I have this vest on, right? Especially if this shirt was like the same color as my skin or white or whatever, and you're seeing my frame like this thing is going to draw the eye right to it because it's bright, you
Yeah.
know? So it's the same thing with your arms, which is why I generally recommend like having your arms covered. Like short sleeves is fine. Your clothes should fit well, right? Don't wear stuff that's like really baggy because it can make you actually look like heavier than you are. And if you wear stuff that's like too tight, it just like cinches, and then you have like all these weird wrinkles and stuff that are showing up in your picture. Let me see. So don't wear like low cut stuff. Like make sure to keep it like the lowest should be like, let's say like here, like maybe a couple of inches below the neck. But if you go lower than that, same with super high things like turtlenecks, they cut you off too much. So it's generally better to kind of like have stuff that's in this area. um, V-necks can work. I just find that round necks look a little bit better, especially for women. For guys, a crew neck can work, but sometimes like a V-neck opens it up a little bit more. Or if you're doing like a collar, having like a collar open, it kind of gives a little bit more form. Few more last things. Avoid shiny stuff. So you don't want clothing that's gonna reflect too much light. And colors that work well are like richer, darker colors. The lighter the color is, so if you're doing like a yellow or like an orange, like some sort of like super strong color, it's gonna draw attention away from your face. You want to keep the attention on your eyes, your face, and then things like white. Even though like it's not a strong color, it's actually pretty bright, and it can work for certain shoots, like indoor shoots in studio or like inside somewhere where there's not a lot of light from the sky hitting your shoulders. If you're outside and you're wearing white, the shoulders can become so bright because they're hit with so much light from above that it just like becomes distracting, and it's just like you lose all the detail on the shoulders. Um, and then, yeah, in general, like I recommend that people wear colors that they like. So, you know, make sure that you're not like, don't bring stuff to the photography session that you're going to hate wearing because you're not going to feel confident in your pictures, and you're just going to be like worrying about it the whole time. Um, but yeah, I think, let me see if there's any other notes from this that I wanted to mention. Yeah, it's not really though. That's for the most part it. The only other thing that I could mention, I guess, is just you just want to remember how far out is the photo that you're doing. If you're just going in for headshots and you're sure of that, then yeah, like you don't need to worry about your pants. But if you're planning to do some full body or half body shots, just kind of make sure that your outfit makes sense based on your types and that everything is, again, well fitted. In particular, well fitted is really important if you're shooting like further out than headshots, because it's way more obvious. And in a headshot that's cropped in, it's okay if your shirt's a little bit too baggy or something. You can't tell as much.
So
So that's
comfortability, yeah. So comfortability is really, really important in being, having a great headshot or having, your version of a perfect headshot. Correct? You would say that.
You said comfort.
Yeah, comfort. Yeah, being
Yeah, I
comfortable.
mean, comfort in your clothing,
Yeah.
comfort in the working with the photographer, comfort in the environment. Honestly, like you can't what's so important for a good headshot, especially if we're talking at that higher level with casting directors and agents and everything, they're looking at your expression, because right away they make a judgment on your expression of whether you can act or not. They're looking at your headshot first. If they look and they're like, all right, this person looks confident, they can probably act, they have a professional headshot, meaning they spend some money and actually take their career seriously, only then are they going to move to your resume and then to watching your clips and all of that. But that's why being comfortable in your shoot is so important, because if you're uncomfortable, whether your clothing is too tight or the photographer's like making you uncomfortable or they're just like awkward to work with or whatever, or like the environment, like let's say you don't like people around, but your photographer only shoots outside in New York City and there's like a zillion people and you're uncomfortable with that, you're gonna have a lot harder time getting a good expression. So it is very important.
All right. So, I mean, I've seen that you do seminars, correct? Like you do a few seminars around, I guess, New York City or around the USA. Where do you do these seminars? And what is, give me some high points of what's covered in those seminars.
So you're just talking about more like general stuff like career and all that. Yeah, so I occasionally do live seminars on Zoom. I used to do live, like in person seminars in New York, but I had a different studio downtown that I did it, which was like a really wide space and it worked. I also live in New Jersey now, so I'm less often there, but I still do a lot of like workshops. I don't do a lot of them. Let me rephrase that. I offer a couple of them a year. One that's like my most popular workshop, I usually do it around February. It's on getting an agent. And then I talk in that about my course, which is called Land an Agent. I have a few different digital courses that actors buy, like I have one called Kickstart Your Acting Career, Land an Agent, the Practical Performer. Those courses are just like pre-recorded video courses, and people who join them are like they can email me if they have questions as they're going through it and stuff, and I kind of help them. But that's, I guess, most of what it is, and they're focused on different areas because I started in headshots, and then actors would just over and over again asking me like, oh, what should I do to get an agent, or what should I do to get more auditions? And I had learned so much about growing my own business, and through meeting people in all different industries shooting headshots, because I also do like LinkedIn photos and we go to offices, like I mean literally just on yeah, it was yesterday, Tuesday, I was in the Empire State Building on the 63rd floor doing headshots for a big law firm there. And so like I meet these people, I meet these companies in all different industries, and it was like it's just learning like how these companies market and grow their own businesses and how these people grow their own careers. And so I kind of took a lot of what I've learned and brought it back to actors. Because honestly, like as much as I love shooting headshots with business people and talking to, and for whatever reason, I mean, I studied film directing at NYU since I was like 9 years old. I've been interested and been involved in like, movies and acting and all of that. And that's just like where my passion is. So I love working with actors. That's why I do these different seminars on what I call like outside the industry marketing strategies.
Okay. So we've talked about the headshots. We talked about the right lighting, the professional lighting and things of that nature. I want to take it a little bit, if we're at the ground level of this. So we have a new actor and they do not have any lighting. They have limited funds. What's the best way that you see that they can kind of get around getting the right lighting and all those things? I know we've talked about, finding direct light, but what if they just have a phone and an apartment? What if that's
So, um, do they have a friend? Is that a
Yeah, there you go. Right.
all right? If they
Let's go
have,
with we have a friend. We have a friend. We have a
if
friend.
the actor has a friend or someone who can help, it's a lot easier than if are trying to do it themselves. So, what they can do if they don't have any space that they can shoot in, really, that's going to have good lighting, is they can go outside and stand underneath something, let's say scaffolding in New York, or underneath a tree that's got some fairly decent leaf covering, whatever. Or like if they live in a house, they can go into their garage and then get basically as close as you can to the light to where there's enough light coming onto the face that you can clearly see yourself and you're not like really dark compared to the background, but that you're not so far to the edge of where, like, let's say the scaffolding is, that there's so much light coming down from above that's darkening the eyes, right? So they want to be in that spot. It's usually, let's say, about 4 to 6 feet back from the edge of whatever you're standing under, depending on how high the thing is. And at that spot is where you're going to get, excuse me, lighting that works. And once you're there, really the rest of it is a matter of, just taking pictures. If they have a friend, the friend can take pictures. You can look at the background, because depending on where you're standing, if you know anything about either retouching or using portrait mode, let's say on your phone, there's certain apps, like one is called FOCOS, so focus, but spelled FOCOS. And it can allow you to use a smartphone and blur out the background a lot more than portrait mode does. There's actually a cool program, this is a side note, called Focus Live, which lets you record videos and blur the background. So like if you wanted to do, like, let's say a monologue scene and you have like a real life setting and you want it to look like it's a movie or something with the background kind of blurred behind you, you could actually use that app for that. But anyway, you take some pictures, and if you're able to use an app like Focus, you can blur out the background. If you can't, then it's really a game of trying to figure out how can I kind of angle the shot so that the background is as minimally distracting as possible. Like, you don't want that much stuff behind you. So you're getting the light and also a non-distracting background behind you. And then just have fun with it, do smile shots. The best way to get a good smile is by laughing, so you can either fake laugh and go, right? Or you could just, like, look up some dad jokes on your phone and just, have your friend tell them to you, and then you laugh, get some smiles, and then do some serious shots. The best way to get a good serious shot is you have to own it. This
Yeah.
is something that a lot of people are uncomfortable with, right? Like, if you're just looking into the camera and you're just blank, nothing is going to come across. Whereas if you're like, all right, I'm going to really play the cool, confident person, right? And I'm just going to feel it. And then you kind of just like start nodding a little bit, and you could get, like, you really get in there and feel the character. Go a little bit overboard. It might feel weird. You could pull it back if you need. But the idea is just like getting to that point is going to make you more comfortable on camera. And then, yeah, you'll delete all the crazy ones or weird ones and stuff and just look for the final shot or two that you can use. And by far, with that kind of lighting and either blurring or a non-distracting background and some sort of expression that, looks like you're confident and you're really owning the character, those three elements are definitely gonna, get you a shot that at least for now can get you some acting work until you're ready for the next level.
That's right. I think that's very important to have somewhere you can start. And then once you're, financially capable of actually investing into yourself, I think that you can go to big studios and things of that nature. But starting somewhere, that's a good starting point, right? Having a friend, everybody grab a friend, please. Tell them to help you out for a second, and then once you make it big, you can compensate them, right? So,
If you don't mind, I'll just very briefly share. So again, our website, cityheadshots.com, we do actually have two different options, right? So our primary City Headshots packages are, longer sessions for really good creativity, the ability to go outside, et cetera. And, they're a little bit more on the pricey end, but then we also have a sister studio that is still owned by City Headshots. It's called Pro Level Portraits. The packages there just start at $199 for like one look. So it's very affordable, and it's an in-studio flat backdrop shot. You could do like, light gray or white or whatever, and you can still get that clamshell lighting we were talking about before. But it is very affordable compared to like, you don't necessarily, especially when you're starting, have to go out and spend like $600 or $800 on headshots. You could do it yourself for free to start. Then if you want, you can invest a little bit of money. Just make sure whoever you're working with, if you're not based in New York and aren't able to work with us or whatever, just make sure that whoever you're working with, you feel comfortable with them. And obviously, like, you're looking at the pictures on their website and you can tell. I always say, like, when you're trying to pick a photographer, look at whatever the worst shots are in their portfolio and you should judge them off of that, because the question is, if they thought that shot was good enough to put in their portfolio, clearly they think that that's a really good shot. So it sounds like a little bit of a harsh way to do it, but it can save people from choosing a photographer that might not give them as good images.
great. Listen, Martin, you've given a lot of great information, and then now we have a lot of questions in the Q&A that we're going to jump right into right now.
Yeah. We'll try
So
to answer them as
we're going to go.
simply as I can.
Hey, we're going to like rapid fire now. Not going to rapid fire, but we're going to get into these questions. So, in the headshot, how much makeup should you wear? Is there too much makeup in a headshot?
Generally, yes. There, like, a lot of people think that they need to overdo or do too much makeup or extra makeup, and the answer is no. Do it the way that you would most likely show up to the casting call, and then maybe a little bit of extra powder. If you're hiring a makeup artist, or if you are thinking of like really spending some extra time on it, you could slightly enhance your features a little bit, like, sometimes making the lip a little bit stronger, the eyes a little bit stronger. However, that can also be done later with the contrast of the final photo. We have a great article called Headshot Makeup. So again, if you search my company, City Headshots, Headshot Makeup in Google, that article will show up, and it really dives deep on every single specific thing you need to know about doing your own makeup.
You got it. So, in your opinion, how often should you get headshots? Is it after 1 year, 2 years, after new looks? How often should you do that?
Most of yeah, it's definitely after new looks. It's also based on how often, like, you can afford it. Like, if you can't afford a headshot and it's going to break you, like, you need to work on your finances and figure things out, because you don't want to be in a situation that's like really bad. So I would say, like, don't like put yourself in a bad situation just to go buy new headshots. It's more important to be financially secure, in my opinion. But anyway, it also depends on how old you are, right? So if you're older, your look is generally changing less rapidly than when you're a kid. So with kids, sometimes they need new headshots every 6 to 12 months. Older people need like, teenagers and like 20s should do like headshots every 1 to 2 years. And then beyond that, it can be like between 2 and 5 years is a range.
Okay. And in these headshots, do you need a full length slash body shot? And if so, what are the backgrounds and the poses that you could use of those? Do they do full length body shots for headshots, or are people asking for those? What have you seen?
So interestingly, a photographer who specializes in headshots doesn't necessarily also specialize in full body shots. They can take them for you usually as long as they're cool with that. But it's not like, like a person who only knows headshots is going to automatically know how to pose you, right? So you do want to be careful of that and make sure that whoever you're looking at, if you're doing that, has like good pose shots in their portfolio because it's much a different style of photography. Um, but in general, like you should focus on definitely having a headshot and ideally at least a half body to three-quarter shot is good because you don't know who's going to require that. So whatever your like headshot session is, you could literally say to the photographer, like most photographers are okay with this. It's like, do you mind just taking like a couple quick shots of me just like backing up and just same background, same outfit, like it's not a whole other look, just grabbing a couple of quick shots of me because I need something that's like shows my body type and what I look like. The specific answer though is that whoever, like, if you're submitting for a certain role, they may have those specifications required there. Or if you're looking for an agent, they may ask you to specifically get certain shots. So the requirement is going to be different, which is why I usually say, like, have at least like one. And if you're going to do it, the background doesn't matter so much as long as it's not distracting. It could be outside, it could be on a white background, or it could just be on whatever. Just keep it very simple and do at least like one or two shots where it's at least like a three-quarter or half body shot at bare minimum just to show what you look like.
Got it. So when we talk about the different types of headshots, we've discussed, the legit and then the commercial. So let's throw in another one. What about theater headshots? What is the difference between theater headshots and film headshots? And like how do you get the best look for each?
Honestly, yeah, we've mostly covered this stuff. Theater is fairly similar to film and TV. Again, number about 15 years ago, a lot of horizontal headshots were being done for film and television, just because that's like widescreen TV. But now it's switched back. Theater headshots were almost always done vertical. Now they're both being done vertical, so there's not too much of a difference there.
So when you're all right, so you're looking for an agent, right? Is there such thing as sending too many headshots, like sending too many looks to them? Is
Okay,
there?
so when it comes to getting an agent, we'll talk about a little bit with the process. If you have any follow up questions, you can. But it's not like a lot of actors think that they need to like shotgun mail their resume and headshots and just like you know, which means like spray and pray or just send it out to all these people and hope someone responds. It's not a good strategy to do that. It's much better to follow the guidelines that are on the agency's website. And there they may say submit one headshot or submit three headshots. So you follow the instructions that are there. The best way to go to an agent is through a referral, right? Where someone introduces you directly to the agent over email, or they say like, yes, mention my name when you reach out to the agent, here's their email address. That's the best. And if you're going to do something like that, then I mean, in general, if you're just like attaching it to an email, you can do one or two. You don't want to have too many attachments to an email because your email is probably going to go to spam, or they're just going to ignore it because they're going to be like, what is all this stuff, right? Keep it like one or two at absolute most headshots.
Got it. One or two headshots, not 20.
If you're emailing, like
That's
otherwise, yeah,
right.
exactly.
All right, so we're gonna talk cameras. What's a good camera? I mean, they're professional and then they're medium grade cameras. What's a good camera to start out with when you're trying to take headshots if you don't want to use your phone?
So it's funny because I actually have this other course that I open once or twice a year. It's called Build a Side Income, and I specifically teach actors the importance and how to start freelancing to support your acting career. Right, you earn money on the side. One of the things that we talk about is shooting headshots. So it's obviously if like your plan is to buy a camera to just take headshots of yourself, it's not really a good investment. It would be better for you to just go to a photographer because remember, you're spending maybe let's just pretend that you're spending $500. Okay.
Right.
How many hours of your time? Let's say that it's $25 an hour is standard or something, right? That's 20 hours of your time to get 20 years worth of pure headshot experience, right? So when you think about it like that, it's like, yeah, like $500, 20 hours of my time to get like that much experience. Or I could go and spend $500, the same 20 hours of my time to buy a camera, and I have zero experience and try to take headshots of myself. Like that's not a good investment in my opinion. But if you're buying a camera to shoot pictures for other people, you're planning to learn and, start doing it, charge like 50, $100, and then within a year or two you're charging like $200, $300 and shooting people like each week. It's totally doable, absolutely. If you're looking for a camera for that, the real question is not what camera are you going to get, it's what lens are you going to get. You can get any sort of like DSLR camera that, most of those, even mirrorless cameras these days, they're going to cost you anywhere from like $400 to $8,000, right? So you don't really need a super expensive one if you're starting out. You could buy the lowest end, but get the right lens. And the right lens ideally should be around 85 millimeters and 1.8 aperture. And that is where your cost is going to come in. I mean, that's a entry level professional lens, but it's going to cost around $400 for the lens itself. You stick the lens on almost any camera and you take a headshot of somebody at the right camera settings, with the aperture open, it's going to blur out the background. Everything's going to look on point. Obviously, you need to get the lighting right, but
Lighting is everything, man. So, all right. So the last question I'm going to ask you, let's talk tattoos. Do we cover the tattoos or leave the tattoos out in the headshot?
I mean, it really depends on where the tattoos are. If the tattoos are like on your arm or something, I mean, I would say like honestly, it depends on what types of characters you're gonna play. So like if you're planning to play like more intense type of characters or something that have tattoos and all of that, then yeah, I mean, do a headshot that has that, and then do one where you're wearing sleeves over it just in case you need to play like the more professional business type of person who would be less likely to have a tattoo. If you get tattoos like on your face or something, I mean, they're there. Like you're not going to retouch them out or hide them. I mean, you could if you plan to cover up yourself with makeup for every single time that you do it. So just like with wearing glasses, like how are you going to show up to the audition? If you're planning to show up without the tattoos, then, sure, fine, cover them. But otherwise, they're there.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, listen, you've given us a lot of information. And remember, guys, this webinar is recorded and it'll be available on allcasting.com so you can go back and rewatch it. This is one thing that I want to ask you. You have a book. Can we talk a little bit about your book? Because I'm very interested in it, and this might help the people that are participating in this webinar understand your unique way of rebranding an actor.
Yeah, totally. So the book is called Get Cast, and you can find it on Amazon. Um, it is, it's got a lot of different strategies and simple tactics as well that you can implement to move your acting career forward. I mean, I believe I wrote it a number of years ago, but I believe that there's a whole section on like putting your website together. Talks about social media. It talks about your headshots, your resume, your reel. Talks about getting an agent. It also has some mental shifts, like think how to, think differently, how to take and respond to criticism and using it to your advantage, and a lot of different stuff like that. And I feel like it's a really, really good sort of entry point into thinking differently. One of the reasons that I find so many actors get stuck is not because they're not good at acting, though, there's some people who think that they're really, really good at acting and they need work and they don't want to take criticism or whatever, But a lot of people, the real reason I feel like that they can get stuck is because there's a lot of people who are only in this industry also teaching other people who are only in this industry. And so when you're not really doing anything that's completely different or new, um, it can be difficult to get ahead because everybody's sort of doing the same thing. And it's like, everybody's like here and you're competing, whereas you have to like step over to the side and then you can kind of get ahead. And so that's sort of like what that book covers, is starting to think differently, implementing outside, as I call it, outside the industry strategies and tactics to move your career forward more quickly and more effectively.
Okay. Hey, you have a podcast, correct?
Yeah, it's new. I've been having so much fun with it. We have like, I don't know, maybe like 16 or 17 episodes up at this point. It's called The Actor's Career Compass. And I deliberately keep the episodes really short because, I mean, we all have limited time. So most of the episodes are around 10 to 15 minutes long, and they're focused on really specific topics that people ask me. So the thing is like, if you send me an email, my email is martin@cityheadshots.com. It's
Yeah.
there. Anybody who wants to email me can. And I almost always respond personally, unless you're sending me something really ridiculous or weird or whatever. But, martin@cityheadshots.com, all you have to do is send me a question that you would like me to cover on the podcast, and I'll definitely get to it. Right now, I try to keep my list from getting too crazy. There's only probably like 15 other ideas on there. I mean, I can keep coming up with ideas myself. I know tons of things that I want to talk about, but I'm trying to get to people's questions first. So if you have a question that you want me to dive deep, the most recent one was how to audition for Disney. I think that came out on Monday this week. I'm really, really excited for January 2nd. Is going to be how to get unstuck when you've hit a career plateau as an actor. That's one of I'm like so excited for that episode to come out. I had so much fun. It's going to be so helpful. Very, very specific, exact things that you can do to get unstuck. So just things like that. It's a really fun podcast.
All right, man. Listen, I appreciate your time. And just to reiterate, guys, headshots is your first impression. And you guys have to get it right the first time. Maybe the second and third, you're going to be a perfectionist at it. But make sure you guys link in, I mean, really lock in with Martin. Again, he just gave his email, if I can give it out again, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Martin at cityheadshots.com, right? That's where we're going.
Yeah.
So
Martin City, City, headshots with an S.
got it. Cityheadshots.com. Make sure you guys flood him with questions and hopefully he'll get back to you. Tune into his podcast, invest into his book, because I know it's a lot of information in there. Martin, I thank you for your time. I'm not going to hold you up anymore, man. You've given us a wide array of good information. And I hope everybody that's tuned into the webinar take really, really good heed to it, because that was really professional. And I thank you for it. And I thank you for your time. Everybody else, I thank you. I love you. You guys be safe. Martin, I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was great.
All right. Bye, guys.